Well, President Obama's clemency means Chelsea Manning will serve just 7 years behind bars. What sort of message is Barack Obama sending to other soldiers who might feel tempted to expose American military secrets and hence endanger American lives? We're joined now by former Green Beret Ben Collins. Ben, it's nice to see you.
You too, Tucker.
So first for the macro question, 2 clemencies granted on the same day, one of Chelsea Manning, who betrayed the country, and one of a Puerto Rican terrorist who sought to wage war against the country. What do these have in common, other than the obvious, they're both anti-Americans?
Well, they're both anti-Americans, and this is something that's almost like a last kick in the teeth, you know, for at least for Obama, to be able to look at President Trump and look at what's occurred over the last, you know, election cycle to say, you know, look, this is my final gasp of you know, basically saying, look, here's my legacy, right? That we're bowing down to organizations like, you know, I mean, that terrorist, I mean, that was 130 bombs across, you know, multiple cities across the U.S. Like you said, Private Manning, you know, treason. I mean,
it is hard to imagine President Obama granting clemency to an abortion clinic bomber, for example. The administration on the Chelsea Manning clemency is apparently, through reporters, saying this is something of a civil rights victory because Chelsea Manning is a transgender woman, and that we should feel good about it for that reason. Why should we be concerned or upset about this clemency for Chelsea Manning?
So Private Manning was a traitor in 2013, and Private Manning is a traitor in 2017. Private Manning released more than 750,000 classified documents. A lot of those were the Iraq War diaries. Those were the Afghan War diaries. So, you know, my own team, I mean, I commanded a team in Afghanistan, a special forces team. I mean, we're even mentioned in the Afghan War diaries. You know, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, they went through those diaries and looked at where did we get our information? Who are the sources that we got our information from? You know, they were able to tie together at least times and places. Now, number one, that put lives at risk. Real Afghan and Iraqi sources that were giving us information. But not just the back history, but I mean also for the future. You know, how else are we going to look at another future source on the ground in Iraq or Afghanistan and Syria and say, you know, look, please come to you know, give us some information, but, you know, we're a little nervous now because you might get released through some sort of hacking. And by the way, Tucker, the absurdity of this, I mean, this is the Democratic National, you know, this is the Democrat Party who just recently now is raising their arms up in air screaming about, holy cow, look at the Russian hacking. So this group, the Democrats that have been so concerned about hacking over the last 4 weeks, now just released a guy that gave one of the largest leaks to Assange and WikiLeaks in history.
How do you think this is seen by active duty military?
They're furious. This is a humongous slap in the face to active duty military and to the intelligence community that work hard to safeguard these secrets. And people can say, well, there wasn't really anything that was inside of this. Look, the fact is, you know, WikiLeaks wasn't even on the map until Bradley Manning issued that video of us bombing a site in Iraq. And they did it out of context. Now, the individuals that we bombed had a camera that resembled an RPG, but it was played to the world through WikiLeaks as if we just were bombing civilians. You know, a lot of this spurred the Arab Spring, which destabilized the entire Middle East region, which is a lot of why we're still there today.
Right.
Hugely detrimental to what's going on, and they're furious. And what does this say to the private, you know, right now, who's over, you know, an intelligence analyst who has purview of classified documents, that you can be convicted of treason, I mean of the Espionage Act, and be convicted of for 35 years to jail, but you're only going to do 4? I mean, that's just disgusting, and that is such a horrible standard to set for this president.
Well, and it's a little odd considering the number of Democrats who've accused the incoming president of, quote, treason because of his relationship with Russia. Finally, I mean, we don't really know why President Obama did this, and as emperor, he doesn't have to explain it to us and hasn't. But if you could speculate, why Bradley Manning? Of all the people sitting in American prison right now, why would the president want to release him?
Well, you know, like you said from the very beginning, I mean, there have been a lot of, you know, requests, you know, because it's a civil rights issue. You know, Private Manning has tried to commit suicide a few times. Private Manning is a transgendered soldier who, you know, they're clamoring for his release. So I think this is much more about legacy than it is justice or fairness. That's the absurdity of this. But then again, Tucker, I mean, look, for the last 8 years, how much have we seen has been entirely about President Obama's legacy.
That's right.
And not about the reality of the ground or the true security of this nation.
Right. It's about sexual politics, which appeals to a certain sort of affluent Democratic donor.
Absolutely.
I get it. Okay. Ben Collins, that's depressing, but thank you for that.
Thanks, Tucker.
Well, Orlando, please.